So can you just talk about, if someone was starting today, they had a little bit of capital, they had some friends with capital. Can you help us navigate in terms of how one would go about purchasing a hotel?
100%. The first thing is call me. We'll have multiple conversations. The second thing is please take time to educate yourself on the industry. There's a lot to learn about the hotel business because, again, it's an operating business. It's not like multifamily where you get somebody in there on an 18-month lease, 24-month lease. If you're lucky and you just hit the lottery, you feel like you got somebody locked up. Hotels, you're doing that every single night. You're trying to get heads in beds strategically, right? So you have to really research the industry, because if you don't know what you're doing, the management companies, if you don't have a good one, they can take advantage of you, and you don't know what's happening, and you can end up not having your investment as protected as you could. So figure out what broker or if you don't have anybody on your investment team that knows the hotel business, then business of investing in hotels, feel free to engage a broker. Again, somebody like myself. The second piece, or another consultant. The other piece is reach out to people who do commercial lending, right? Start having those conversations. What does this look like in terms of debt service? Talk to me about SBA loans, right? How much do I need down? Are there SBA loans that I can do with 10 to 15% down? Talk to me about USDA loans. Not a lot of people talk about that. Just kind of get that information on what financing might look like, because ultimately you have to know that if you find something that you like, that you can afford to procure it and obviously service the debt on a monthly basis. The other piece is talk to the brands and see how you can get information from them on what are they looking for in an owner profile. Some of the brands are pretty strict on what they're looking for in terms of ownership, right? They'll tell you, $10 million net worth and no felonies. Another brand will tell you like, hey, if you can afford it, then hey, it probably will work out. We'll run you through a quick background check and we'll be good to go. What are they looking for in their owners? Because at the end of the day, the brands are going to be your partner. It was an article I read not too long ago. I think they said that average franchise fee is about 11.5% of your gross revenue, right? So they're taking a good amount of money. So they want, and you're going to be partners. So you want to make sure that you know your partner and that they know you. Start talking to management companies. Pay to go to these conferences. There are management companies there that will hold your hand and make sure that you are educated through the process of not just securing the deal, but actually they run the day-to-day operations. You're talking about dealing with a lot of money and a lot of people. And we don't talk about the HR component of it. We haven't touched on, the financing. We haven't touched on you're dealing with an operating business. So what does that look like for CapEx, right? For capital expenditures and putting money aside for building preservation and other furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We also haven't touched on even the political landscape and how that impacts hotels, right? You're in a certain jurisdiction that has rules on how you have to serve alcohol, or whether or not you can or cannot serve alcohol. So all of these type of things come into play. So you want to make sure that you educate yourself and figure out what your strategy is. The biggest thing I would say is on your first deal, be open-minded. So I'll give you kind of my top three. The first one is just be open-minded. I get that call all the time. It's like, I'm interested in a hotel. I live in Baltimore or I live in DC and I want to have something in the area. And it's like, and they want it for, it just doesn't always work out like that. You have to be cognizant that there may be a great deal that comes up in North Carolina, in, a smaller town in New York. And so get past the geography and look at the business. Because a lot of times when you're looking at hot locations, it's a hot location for a reason. You want to be there, so does everybody else. Your pricing is going to be reflective of that. So a lot of these secondary and tertiary markets are strong performers, and there's not as many eyes on it, and you can usually get in for a little bit less aggressive numbers. The second thing is, have your team together. I usually tell people to, depending on what your equity sources look like, try to stay in that $5 million and under price range. And that's just because of the SBA guidelines. SBA is $5 million. And yeah, if you have to come up with 20% down, you're talking about $1 million equity raise. You're talking about 10 people with 100,000. Right. So that's just some very rudimentary, math, just kind of quick off the cuff. Which is just kind of like an idea I throw out there to people. And you can find a good number of deals in that price range. The third thing is decide on what type of owners your group want to be. Off top, is this a legacy investment? Are we trying to hold on to this and hand it off to our kids? Or if somebody offers us $500,000 more tomorrow, it's sold. Right? Are we going to engage a management company, or do we have somebody on our team that we know has that skill set that can manage this hotel and is going to move to wherever to get this deal done? Those are probably the top three things, in addition to just educating yourself on the industry and the deal profile that you're looking for.